Hey, second in my videos about bands who should have been huge but weren't. Today it's Rich Kids, and this is the album Ghosts of Princes in Towers, their only record. Album should have been massive, band should have been massive. What the fuck happened? Rich Kids were formed by Glen Matlock after he got kicked out of the Sex Pistols. Well, Glen said that he left of his own accord, but according to Steve Jones, it was because Glen liked the Beatles too much and washed his feet. It's funny because, like, when I was a kid, that was the rumor that I heard about. You could only be a true punk, if you didn't wash your feet. I always wash my feet, so read into that what you will. Glen formed Rich Kids with Rusty Egan on drums and Steve New, who had also been asked to join the Sex Pistols at one stage as a backup to Steve Jones's guitar playing, but then Steve Jones, came along in leaps and bounds, so Steve New got ousted. Rich Kids played around as a three-piece for a little while, but was still looking for a true lead singer. At that stage, Glen was handling the vocals, and the story goes that Glen was in a record store and came across this album by a band called Slik. This is a terrible album, by the way. It's just like cabaret pop. I bought it because Midge Ure, who was going to be who Glen wanted to be the singer of his new band. Slik were a kind of Bay City Rollers type band, actually put together by Bay City Rollers management. Had all their songs written for them, totally manufactured, had session musicians playing all the songs in the studio. Some say that the Sex Pistols were a manufactured thing as well, so hey, fucking maybe it stands to reason. They had a number one hit at one stage, and I read an interview where Midge just said he didn't give a shit because he wasn't really any part of it. But I feel like Glen wanted Midge in the band because to kind of fuck with the whole punk thing, like, everyone was like Johnny Nosebleed and fucking rat scabies, all these like crazy, like negative kind of connotations, and he was just going to get like this pop singer in his band. But the thing is, like, Midge Ure, he was great at adapting to things and great songwriter as well, which wasn't utilised in Slik. Basically, they had all the ingredients of a great band there, like the disparate, like, punk sort of thing, and then the pop angle coming in and just making like a great power pop band, basically. So the first single was the song Rich Kids, which was a great way to introduce everyone to the band. Real high energy power pop song. It did make the top 40 in the UK, and that was their only kind of chart success, which is just criminal. I mean, the album's just fantastic. Second song was Marching Men, written by Midge Ure. Bit more atmospheric, military style beat, bit plotting. I don't know whether it was a great choice as a second single, and maybe that was one of the reasons why then the next single and the album failed, because of like kind of people lost interest with that song. The third single is like Glen Matlock's masterpiece, the title track, Ghosts of Princes in Towers, and that song is just like, that is one of the greatest songs, look, I'm going to say ever written. Just got everything there. Great melody, attitude. There's just something that hits the emotions with that song. Anyway, great song. Glen has actually gone on record saying that he thinks it should have been a hit, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Man, that song was so good, just thinking about it now. I actually wanted to do a cover of it and tried it, and I can't fucking sing the thing. Anyway, no Midge Ure, obviously. The actual album itself starts off with Strange One, and yeah, that is a strange one to start the album with, because it's shit. I would say it was, well, it's not shit, I'll take that back. It's a strange one. It's just strange. It's like, it's not a song that you open an album with. It's like plotting, and it's like atmospheric, and it's experimental with some keyboards that sort of weren't getting used a lot around that time. I kind of feel like it was a poor one to start the album with, and could have turned people off. It turned me off at the start. I was just like, at the time, I didn't have time to fucking just like fully like listen to the album in its entirety, and I put that on, and I was just like, oh, this is shit. And then it wasn't until like 10 years later or something that I actually thought, I'll give that Rich Kids album a go. another go. This was like in the early 2000s actually when I fully got into it. But yeah, I just feel like that strange one was a bit of a turn off. The rest of the album is unreal. It's like goes from sort of some hard rock stylings of Hung on You, that's fantastic, through to more punky stuff like Put You in the Picture, which was an old Slik song. They changed their name at that stage to TVC2, bit more of a punk attitude, trying to cash in on that whole thing. So they recorded it, and then Midge brought it to Rich Kids, and they recorded a great version. It fits in perfectly with the album and the vibe. Other songs, there's a couple that Glen sings vocals on. Cheap Emotions, that could have just been straight off Never Mind the Bollocks if it wasn't for the inclusion of piano by Ian McLagan, who was from the Small Faces and the Faces. You might know him from his work with the Rolling Stones, Faces, Rod Stewart, Rolling Stones. He didn't actually play on this one, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to say this is my favourite Rolling Stones album, and fuck the haters. He probably played on this. Bootleg, I hate bootlegs. I haven't actually even listened to this, but, you know, hey, look, I've got a Rolling Stones bootleg. What the fuck? Interestingly enough, he played on the song Rosalie from Thin Lizzy's Fighting. That was a surprise. Look, he's done fucking so many things. Renée Geyer's so lucky. He's just got Say I Love You. That was a hit from this one. Cool song. The album closes with Burning Sounds, another one sung by Glen Matlock. It's a weird choice for him to sing the closing song. I don't know whether it's a production decision or whatever, or he just wanted to sing his, like, I want to close the album with a song that I wrote and I'm going to sing it. But I feel like Midge Ure is a way better singer and would have, like, done it way more justice. But anyway, cool song. But speaking of production was done by Mick Ronson. This is his solo album. I don't really like that much, but you'll know him as the guitarist for David Bowie, but he produced a bunch of stuff. Lou Reed's Transformer. He did like a wide gamut of, like, this is pop, total pop, Payolas. Funnily, like, he did produce this one, and this band has Bob Rock in it. This is Bob Rock's fucking original band. Total pop. No, it's not heavy metal or anything like that. It's a bit of a terrible album, to be honest. I bought it because it's got the Eyes of a Stranger was the You Got the Eyes of a Stranger. That's a okay song, I guess. But anyway, strange that Bob didn't produce that himself, because he was starting to produce. Actually, funnily enough, Bob was engineering a bunch of punk bands. Young Canadians are a fucking awesome Canadian band, and they were young, I guess. But yeah, apparently he was like producing or engineering at the very least a bunch of punk bands at that stage. So interesting that then he found his feet doing the like metal bands in the late 80s, Cult and whatever, and of course Metallica, and that was that whole fucking Some Kind of Monster documentary. God, that was nauseating. Anyway, cool album, Dead Fingers Talk, that Mick Ronson also produced. That's worth tracking down. He also played on, I don't know why I'm like, now I'm going on this whole Mick Ronson fucking thing when it's meant to be about the rich kids. But anyway, as I was doing all this research, I was like, fuck, there's a bunch of cool like little stories and anecdotes. He played guitar on this, and that part in Jack and Diane, oh, let it rock, let it go. That was all Mick Ronson's idea, like John at this stage, Cougar, but Mellencamp, yeah, it was stuck for, like, didn't even think it was a great song. And then Mick Ronson was like, you got to be kidding, and then added that bit. Fucking awesome song. Play guitar on, I always thought it was Genya Raven, but it could be Genya Ravan, or it could be Genya Ravan. Anyway, the reason I included this and the reason I have this album is because she actually produced this. Dead Boys, Young, Loud and Snotty, and this is killer. Absolutely killer. But yeah, Mick Ronson, he did other stuff like massive bands, Meatloaf. This is, I hate picture discs, by the way. I only got this because it was at the record store at the time when I was a kid. I was like getting into metal and I was like, oh, that looks metal. And then I got it and it wasn't metal and fucking what the hell. But the title track from this actually is the only good Meatloaf song, and the start of Bat Out of Hell with that piano shit that they used to use for the Formula One Grand Prix in the 80s. They'd put that shit at the start. As soon as the singing comes in, that song's shit. But those first like minute or two in that song, fucking killer. But yeah, like Mick Ronson, he'd go from Meatloaf, massive artist, and then he would like play guitar on shit like the Johnny Average Band, who are, well, kind of average. But I should give this a bit more of a listen just to make sure it's average. I've had it for years and I only listened to it a couple of times. Nothing stood out. But my point is, he would play on Meatloaf's thing and then he would fucking like just do some unknown band. Yeah, I'll give this a listen at some stage. Maybe I'll do a review. They should have been huge, maybe. Anyway, the production, yeah, it's a bit muddy. Fucking so what? In my opinion, it suits it. It's got its own vibe. I miss when records sounded like everything was fucking bleeding into all of the microphones. That's the vibe you get. It's like, it's a bit muddy, but it really suits it. In my opinion, I love the production on the Rich Kids album, Ghosts of Princes in Towers. I mean, was the production, the shit production, the reason it didn't sell? Fucking maybe. Was it Midge Ure and his lack of credibility that fucking like people just like, oh, this guy's from a pop band, fuck them or whatever? Or was it that Glen Matlock was in the band and he'd been booted from the Sex Pistols, so all the punks went, oh, well, he's a fucking like, listens to the Beatles and washes his feet too much? What the fuck? I don't know, maybe. Because as far as I'm concerned, Rich Kids had the songs, awesome songs. They had the look, they looked so fucking good. The only band that looked better than them in 78, in my opinion, was Generation X, because they were fucking just ridiculously good looking, just a cool band. And actually, they're a good comparison to the Rich Kids, like a similar sound. Maybe Rich Kids were a little bit tighter, probably because like Midge Ure had been in a band for a while and like a little bit more experienced. But yeah, this killer album as well. This should get a fucking video done on it by itself as well. It's fucking cool. Yeah, I don't know why the fuck that album didn't sell huge, because fucking it just had everything as far as I'm concerned. They started writing for a second album that they recorded some demos for. It was released on a compilation in around 98 called Burning Sounds, which I never knew about. And now when I'm trying to buy it, it's not fucking available. Of course it isn't, but it's on YouTube. Had a bit of a listen to the songs and I'm like, I think Glen was saying that they split up because Midge Ure and Rusty Egan wanted to go in a more electronic like direction, kind of like more the new romantic bands that were coming out or starting to form. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, I listened to the demos on that Burning Sounds compilation and I don't think it's too far removed from what they were doing. It was a little bit like moving away a tiny bit, but as far as I was concerned, it just seemed like a natural progression to me. Plus that whole thing about, no, we left the band because we wanted to try different things or whatever. I think if the band if Rich Kids had sold fucking heaps of records and like, you know, they became stars, I'm pretty sure they would have stuck together for at least one more album to see what would happen. But anyway, as it was, they split up after that first album. Rusty Egan and Midge Ure formed Visage and they had a hit straight out of the gate with Fade to Grey. It's a cool song. I have heard the Visage album and it's not too bad. It's not totally my cup of tea, but it's pretty cool. Got some good songs on it. I think while Visage were going, they kind of did some different bands off on the side. One of them, Rusty Egan, joined the Skids for this album, Days in Europa. My least favourite Skids album, but I listened to it yesterday actually. Side B is fucking way better than Side A. I don't know, it's fucking weird when bands do that. Like, spread the shit songs on fucking all around if you got shit songs, or just do an EP. Anyway, then Midge Ure was asked to join Ultravox. I actually do like Ultravox's the John Fox era. This one, that's cool. Second album, great. But fucking that Vienna song, oh man, I hate that song. And that just turned me off getting anything Ultravox after Midge Ure joined them. Now that I'm a bit older and whatever, I still hate Vienna shit, but you know, maybe there's some other stuff on that album, so I think I'm going to have to like investigate some Midge Ure era Ultravox albums. But this is probably what everyone knows Midge Ure from the most. Well, no, that's not true, because they probably know him from Vienna because it was a fucking massive hit, whatever. I don't understand that. Why was that a fucking hit and Ghost of Princes in Towers wasn't a hit? That's fucking weird. Anyway, Midge co-wrote this with Bob Geldof and was a big part of getting that whole Band-Aid thing going behind the scenes and whatever. I think Bob Geldof took all of the credit. And Midge Ure was relegated to T-Boy or whatever the fuck. But yeah, massive song. I don't like it, but you know, I've got the album just because fucking I just buy shit, whatever. I was gonna say Midge Ure's done all of those things and Ultravox and whatever, but the best thing he ever did was the Rich Kids. But I can't say that, because did you know that fucking Midge Ure was in Thin Lizzy? What the fuck? Like, I found that out about 10 years ago and I was just like, this is insane. Apparently Gary Moore in 78 left halfway through an American tour. And Phil, I don't know how Phil knew him, but anyway, Phil Lynott rang him up and said, hey, come over and can you learn the songs and come over and play the rest of the tour? You know, Gary's fucked off. You know, we want you to come and play with us. There's some great interviews with Midge on YouTube where he talks about this, where he's like, I got the cassettes and I was taking my ghetto blaster on the plane and I was gonna like listen to them, learn all of these fucking harmonized guitar parts, and he got on Concord, and then of course that took only 3 hours to get there, so he'd learned fuck all. Plus then, and I know this from experience, if you're learning all of these different harmonized guitars, they kind of sound like they fit in every song if it's in the same key. So anyway, but from all accounts, he kicked ass. I've seen some TV footage of them miming on TV, and he looks unreal. Like, it's kind of jarring, but it's like, man, if he had stayed with them for one album, I just think, fuck, they could have done some really interesting stuff. And Thin Lizzy, my favourite band. I love that there's that little fucking weird blip with Midge Ure with his fucking like makeup and perfect hair and whatever, and he's like shorter than the other guys, so when you see him like near Phil Lynott in particular, who was massive, just kind of looks comical. But yeah, I just love that shit happen. As it was, he ended up doing background vocals on Chinatown, but he did also do a few things with Phil Lynott on his solo albums. They wrote a song called Yellow Pearl together, which that was on this first solo album. And there was like a few more keyboards and stuff that Phil Lynott was trying, you know, breaking away from the Thin Lizzy thing just for his solo things. Not a bad album. Not as good as, I mean, I love Chinatown, but anyway, I love Thin Lizzy. So, and then that song Yellow Pearl, I think they remixed it for this one, so it's also on here, but it's a remix, and they use this for the Top of the Pops theme, which is where maybe anyone, all you kind of people from the UK would know the song from there. Glen Matlock, after Rich Kids split up, went straight into Iggy Pop's band for the Soldier album, along with Steve New, actually. The main song on this is Knocking 'Em Down in the City, or that's my favourite on this, but all the other good songs on this are written by Glen Matlock. Like any that sort of have a bit more of a melody, bit poppier or whatever, that'll be Glen Matlock. I read somewhere that the producer on this quit halfway through, and David Bowie came in to finish it or something, and tried to pick up Steve New's girlfriend at the time, Paddy Paladin, and Steve punched Bowie or had a fight with him or fucking jumped on him or some shit, and then thinks that his guitar tracks had got wiped from the album. So as far as I know, it's Steve New playing guitar on this. He's credited, but you know, fucking who knows. if the tracks got wiped and someone else did some shit. Glen also did some solo albums. I've only got it on CD. Who does he think he is when he's at home? I had that like for 20 years or something, never listened to it, and I had a listen a couple of days ago actually before I did, because I knew I was going to be doing this. And it's fucking killer. It's like I think it was from 95. It's got that like mid 90s kind of real thick guitars and whatever, but the songs are fantastic. The problem with those like 90s production styles with the guitar for rock bands, just to me it doesn't have any personality. Like you listen to the Rich Kids album and it's like it's got personality, whereas like that real saturated thick guitars and whatever from the mid 90s and beyond, to be honest, just there's no vibe. It's like, but anyway, the song's fantastic. Speaking of Steve New, he's probably got the most interesting post Rich Kids career. He was asked to join Generation X after Bob Durwood Andrews left. But by this stage, he had a heroin addiction and he's like, fucking, I've never been on heroin, but I've fucking had people in bands that I've been in who have been on heroin, and it's fucking like, it is such a stress. It's always wondering where they're going to turn up and fucking whatever. It's just fucking a nightmare. But so eventually they went with James Stevenson, which I think he was from Chelsea, actually. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Been waiting to say that. And I'm sure I'm fucking wrong on a lot of this shit. It's just stuff that I've just like over the years gathered and fucking, you know, something comes in and then something else has to leave. So I've probably fucking mixed up a few things, whatever. I know people think the Generation X, the first album is unreal, but I love the second album, Valley of the Dolls. I also love this. I reckon this is good, but everyone's like, oh, it's fucking like too soft or too much like Billy Idol's what he was going to do on his solo career. But this is worth tracking down, in my opinion. So Steve didn't end up playing on this except for on the song Dancing With Myself, which was eventually released as Billy Idol's first solo single. Steve Jones also played guitar on it, rhythm guitar. Steve New did some of the lead stuff, and then they got Danny Cousteau from Tom Robinson Band to also add some extra shit. And this is another album that's fucking unreal. This will get a fucking Guernsey in one of these videos, I think. Danny Cousteau, man, some of the lead stuff he does on this, Up Against the Wall, fuck, the solo is fucking unreal. So Steve also, he basically just played with a bunch of people, did some live stuff with Public Image Limited at the start. He was asked to join Duran Duran at one stage and rejected the offer because he hated the name. I'm not sure that would have worked out, and I think Andy Taylor, who they got in the band, like he was a good fit for them. Played with Johnny Thunders, which I don't know if that was a great idea. Two people on heroin fucking in the band, fucking, anyway. They'd never recorded anything, so that probably speaks to that. Did, like, just the odd thing here and there, Pearl Harbour. I think he did 3 songs on this, and this is all just like, I like her, or there was a band. This seems to be like more of a solo thing. First album had a bit more of a power pop, but weird power pop kind of thing that I really liked, or at least liked half of it. This is basically just all rockabilly shit, so not really my bag. Even reunited with Glen Matlock for his Glen Matlock and the Philistines project. Then in the early 2000s, Steve New came out as transgender, changed his name to Stella Nova, and then formed a duo called Beast Stella Beast, which is like a bit too avant-garde for me. It's like, not enough of a pop vibe. Then in 2010, they died of cancer. I think there was a Rich Kids reunion as a benefit show for Stella's family and whatever. Funny, like the stories that you read about when Stella was still Steve. Apparently stole Bernie Rhodes' girlfriend off him and like ended up marrying her and had a kid with her. Like just an interesting life, but sort of bit of a tragic end there, dying of cancer at only 50. That's just crazy. But I mean, at least they were kind of living life as they wanted to at the end, and just making music, you know, like crazy music that I wasn't into, but fucking just like obviously expressing themselves like how they wanted to. Fantastic. You know, 50 years old, it's like fucking so much more music to be made. But the fact that they had released or been involved with, in my opinion, one of the masterpieces of that whole new wave punk, the legacy is there. So that's all you can ask for, I guess. But yeah, I'd recommend you try and track down Ghost of Princes and Towers by the Rich Kids. But then again...